I've got to say that every time, and people notice this, those who are of reasonable mind, which is a majority of you, a lot of times when I speak about Zionist Israel, you will get a violent reaction from many of the conservatives who follow me, and a majority of you are on the conservative side of the argument. Maybe because I am, while being an independent, I don't belong to any political party. Most of my views are on the conservative side of the political spectrum. So it draws in most people from the right side of the political spectrum. But a lot of you all, when I speak about Zionist Israel, you all, I mean, you go from loving me and wishing me well and this to wishing I was dead. I mean, some of y'all wish I was murdered. I mean, you wish the worst. I mean, the worst type of reaction I get. I mean, most of you haven't done this, but a lot of you have. And it's even gone so far where people who never liked me in the beginning, they have smeared me all over the internet, calling me anti-Semitic, saying stuff that on the internet that I want to kill Jews. And I mean, the worst kind of, I mean, I never got this type of reaction. I mean, when I bash, the pro-mask Karens, I bash them day in and day out, and I never got this kind of reaction, or even from the Muslims, or even from the Meghan Markle people. I mean, the people who support Meghan Markle, or even the fans of Justin Pataki and Matt Daddy Trudeau. I mean, none of these people have been as violent and hateful of me. Even the people who hate Kevin J. Johnston, who is a good friend of mine. I mean, even they aren't as, I mean, they're a close second, but even they are as offended and as just vicious towards me as the Zionists are when I point out what is wrong. And what is wrong is wrong. I'm going to continue. I mean, I've even had calls from police. I mean, police in Canada, what the hell is police in Canada doing calling me concerned about my videos? I mean, can you see the power? But this is not what I'm talking about. What I want is, let me clearly state what, the fault of a lot of you so-called conservatives is, and you so-called Christians is that and we're talking about Israel because it's in the news now, because there's all this whole heap of violence going on. I mean, the amount of violence which is happening in Israel right now, it is astounding. I mean, you have the Israelis who are shooting rockets into Palestine and vice versa. I mean, it is just, I mean, Mr. Engineer, can we see some of these pictures coming up? I mean, look at this, man. My gosh, man. I mean, this is the sign of a cursed society, man. I mean, this is a cursed society. I mean, look at this, all this whole heap of violence and bombings and murder on both sides. I mean, mothers weeping for their children and all this sort of stuff. This is what they're going through. And I'm speaking of, and so we have to speak about this stuff, but I have to speak about it through my conscience and what God has told me. And God has told me that the state of Israel belongs to all three Abrahamic religions: Christians, Jews, and Muslims. And the sooner that those guys in Israel begin to understand that, the sooner we'll have peace in the Middle East. And I don't think that, I mean, there's a lot of warmongers out there who they make a lot of money off of this conflict. But I mean, if we could show these pictures again, I mean, really, I mean, look at all this, man. Look at all this. Look at this. I mean, all this violence and on all sides. I mean, Israel is getting it. Palestine is getting. I'll say Israel is getting it a lot less because they have this so-called, Iron Dome. But I mean, I mean, look at this, man. Look at all of this. And it's all because you've got the state of Israel, which is hogging that whole territory to themselves. The so-called Jews, which I'm dis Jews and Israel are not the same thing. I think it's offensive to say otherwise. But the so-called Jews are hogging the territory for themselves. Nothing for the Arabs, nothing for the Christians. I mean, nobody talks about the Christians. We all hear about this whole two-state solution, right? But nobody talks about, well, I think there should be there should be a three-state solution, a Christian. Israel is just as much Christian as it is Jewish, But the Muslims, they have their so-called territory, which is not really a territory. Palestine is not a country. That's a joke. That's no more a country than the Yukon is, or the Northwest Territories in Canada, or Nunavut. Palestine is a territory of Israel, and the Arabs are upset, and all these homelands being built in their area, so-called Jewish homelands, and all this sort of stuff, homes being taken away, and this is Jewish and that is Jewish. The fact of the matter is that Israel is a country that belongs to the religion of Abraham, which is Jews, which is Christians, and Muslims. All three of them. I don't think there should be a two-state solution or a three-state. I think it should remain the way it is. And all of these religions need to come together and get along and stop hugging. I mean, the flag of Israel being the Star of David. I mean, who said you could put that up there? God's gonna put you in hell for that, And I'm not saying that to be anti-Semitic. No. First of all, when you talk to Orthodox Jews, they'll tell you exactly what I'm telling you. They tell you. I've got friends in an organization called Neturei Karta, and they say it. There is no Jewish homeland. You won't find that anywhere in the Torah. It's a sin. You know that, right? The state of Israel was thought up in the state of Israel, which is as we know it now. This is history here. As we know it now. I'm telling you, y'all can stop attacking me and threatening me and wanting to send, poison letters to my house and wanting to wish me killed and, calling. I mean, the state of Israel as we know it now was thought up in 1917, the Balfour Declaration, and this wasn't out of goodwill from the British, because at the time, in 1917, Israel was a British territory. It was Palestine, British Palestine, and there was no Jews. I mean, there were one or two Jews, but it was a Muslim part of the British Empire. That was a Muslim part of the British Empire. I mean, even the British couldn't control it. That was because it used to be the Ottoman Empire. That used to be the Ottoman Empire, which was an Islamic empire. And that's just how it was. And many people in Europe and Britain in particular, they wanted to have a way to get rid of all the Jews that were in Europe. Nobody talks about that, All this whitewashing of history in the media and elsewhere, all this fear of talking the truth, it doesn't fly here with me. I mean, I could probably be arrested for telling you this truth, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. They wanted, because in Europe, Jews were loathed in Europe, just like Muslims are loathed in Europe now. They wanted the Jews to have their own homeland so that they could, not because they like Jews, because they want to keep them away out of Europe. They want them out of Europe. The Russians wanted them out of Russia. The Germans wanted them out of Germany. The French, the British, all came together and said, let us have a place for Jews. We can dump them and leave them. They originally thought of maybe Madagascar, even Belize, where my father's from. But they said, no, let's Israel, and we'll say that, this is what the Bible is. This is what the Bible, even though there's nothing in the Bible that says that, they just made that up. But we'll say this is where we're gonna send all these Jews. Then World War II came, and Hitler Hitler liked that because Hitler hated Jews. Hitler hated Jews. Hitler hated Jews. Um, and Hitler thought maybe this would be a good idea. But the thing is that Israel or British Palestine was a British territory. So Hitler said, "Well, once we defeat Britain, this is where we're going to bring the Jews to. This is where we're going to bring them." Didn't work out that way. So in the end, Hitler decided that he was going to put the Jews in gas chambers and all this sort of evil stuff. And so, really, the state of Israel as we know it now wasn't created out of God, it was created out of evil. The theory behind Israel is the most anti Semitic thing, really, you could think of. Now, we have it now. There it is. But the problem that we have now is that the Muslims are living there. For years they were living. I mean, for years and years and years. And before the Muslims, I mean, this area. I mean, if you want to talk Bible to me, which is what a lot of you so fake Christians like to do, this state of Israel belongs to all three Abrahamic religions, all three of them. For you, for the Jewish so-called Jews, because remember, this is not Jews that are doing this. Is so-called Jews to put up their flag and say that no, the Arabs, you all have this tiny little area of Gaza and West Bank, and maybe we'll leave you alone, but maybe we'll build some homelands there, and maybe we'll let you keep your house today, but we might take it tomorrow. What kind of thing is that? First of all, God, there's no God. God didn't give you permission to do any of that. Now, the reason why a lot of these neoconservatives are so pro-Israel, you have to understand, they believe in their warped, fake Christian mind that this is what God said. Like I said, I'll do it again. They think this is what God said. And, everybody says, well, conservatives are religious or this and that. You ain't going to find nothing here in this Bible. This is the Holy Bible. You will find nothing in Leviticus, nothing in Judges. You'll find nothing in Kings, Proverbs, Psalm, Job, Esther, you'll find nothing in here. You see, you'll find nothing in here. In fact, funny enough, I just turned to a part of the Bible that says Israel. I just found a part here where it says Israel. Can you imagine that? And God is talking to us right now as I speak. The priests then slaughtered the goats and presented their blood. This is Chronicles 2, verse 24. The priests then slaughtered the goats and presented their blood on the altar for a sin offering to atone for all Israel, because the king had ordered the burnt offering and the sin offering for all Israel. Well, there's nothing in here that's really necessarily talking about what we're talking about. But I mean, for the fact that Israel is mentioned so much in the Bible, I mean, you can literally turn the page and you'll see the word Israel in here. And it's a Christian Bible, Israel, the state of Israel, is not strictly Jewish. It's Jewish, it's Christian, and it's Muslim. That is all of our territory. And the reason why God is cursing Israel right now with all this whole heap of violence and all this just evil is because God is seeing his state, his state, which he's given to all of the three religions, really being hogged by one person. That's not what God said. That's not what God said in here. That's not what God said in here. That's not what God said in here. You all are lying on God, and you're lying on the Arana nation too. I mean, for all of you who have put nasty things on the internet about me saying that I'm a Jew hater, you can't find anything in there that says I'm a Jew hater. This is you all are making it worse. And to see what's happening in Israel right now, where you've got homes where Israeli Arabs are living in, and the Israeli government wants to take those homes away. What do you expect? You expect them to just give you flowers? Oh, thank you for taking my home away. I mean, thank you for taking my home away. Thank you. Here's some flowers. I mean, what do you expect the reaction of the Arabs in Israel and Palestine is going to be? What do you expect that reaction to be? So this is the timeline of events. You've got Palestinians living in their homes. The Israeli government says, no, this neighborhood was a Jewish neighborhood. We're going to take you out. That's it. This is our home now. And even if it was a Jewish neighborhood, is it really good? Do you think God, do you think God, whichever God you worship, do you think God would allow removing people from a home and just leaving them homeless like that and just taking that home back and giving it, even if it belongs to a Jewish organization, whatever? Do you think God would like that? Do you think that God says that's good? I mean, is that a good thing to do? Do you think that's a godly thing to do? And so what happens is that the Israeli Arabs are angry and they start rioting in the streets. I mean, they start rioting in the streets. I don't know if we have some pictures of these riots. I mean, maybe we can find some footage or something of the just riots because of these people who are being taken out of their home in Israel. I mean, just the government, no, we're gonna take you out of your home. We're going to take your house away. Okay, I hear that we do have footage of this from the Sun. From Sun. I guess let's see if we can look at it here. If we can share the screen again. Let's see this here. Let's see this. And the riots, and just keep in mind that these riots are as a result of people being told by the government, hey, you can't live here anymore. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this, man. Look at all this. I mean, all of this violence as a result of one group of people thinking they can just do whatever they want in this country, which belongs to all three Abrahamic religions. Look at this. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Lord have mercy. God has cursed this place. Look at him. Look at it. My Lord, from Zion. I don't know. Look at this now. All because the Israeli government says, you know what? We are going to now take these houses from these individuals living there, and and we're going to say, no, these houses belong to a Jewish organization in the first place.
David,
so we're taking it back.
David.
Look at this. And so as a result of all of this that's happening, okay, I think we've seen it. Shame and sin. I think we've seen it. So as a result of all of this, the Palestinian government, well, not really government, but the Palestinian Authority has decided to fight Israel over this and launch rockets into their territory, and the Iron Dome protected them. And so Israel says, well, we're under attack here now. We're being attacked. So let's fire rockets into Gaza, into West Bank. But I mean, look, you all want to blame Palestine. Okay. Let's say the tables were turned. Let's say you go to a place like, oh, I don't know, Iran. And you heard that the Iranian government was taking Christians out of their home. I got a better example. South Africa. Now, imagine if the ANC government of South Africa decided to drag white people out of their homes, out of their homes into the streets and give it to black folk and say, no, this was black land to begin with. This was black land to begin with. No white people here in Africa. What white man come from Africa? We'll drag you. I think all of you guys who are defending Israel, you all would be demanding that the United States, Great Britain, France, the United Nations Security Council, everybody launched a collective task force against South Africa. You all would want weapons of mass destruction. You all would want Exocet missile. You would call for the destruction of South Africa as a result of that. So why aren't you calling for that now? The fact of the matter is that the state of Israel belongs to all the three main Abrahamic religions. It does. It does. Every single one. Christian, Jewish, and Islam. And when God looks down from heaven and see one group of people attacking and fighting off another group of people, when God wants both of those people to have that land, and what to add insult to injury, the third group of people aren't even being mentioned, the Christians. God's gonna curse that land. And God has cursed Israel since 1948, ever since all of this happened. So for those of you who want to say I'm being anti-Semitic and all of this stuff, I hope I've explained myself. I'm really not explaining myself. I'm just, this is a big news story that's happening right now. And if we're ever going to see peace in the Middle East, which I don't know, I don't think we're going to see, because both sides are well, and one side in particular, let's not go on with this both business. The Arabs really have nothing. And look, I'm sure if the Arabs ran that territory, would they probably be just as bad? Probably, yes. But that's not what's happening right now. It's the Jews that are, it's not Jews, but it's the so-called Jews that are doing it right now on that side. And not no Arabs are doing it. This is not what's happening right now. If it's Islamic people doing it, then we talk about that. But that land belongs to all the three religions. And the only way we're going to see peace is if all of those sides, the Islamic people, the Jews, and the Christians, realize that Israel doesn't belong to the Jews. It belongs to all three of those religions. Will they ever realize that? I don't think so. I'm just being honest right now. I don't think so. To see all this, the fighting and stuff that I see right now, I don't think so. Hope springs eternal, but I don't think that's going to ever happen in my lifetime, and maybe not ever. This is the